What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk Strat stuff. I grew up with Strats. Like, I think I've mentioned it many times on the channel that my first real guitar when I was 13 was a Strat that I actually still own. And one of the reasons I like them, and I think one of the reasons they were cool in the first place, obviously because Leo Fender designed them that way, was to be modular. So that also makes them super fun and moddable, right? So anytime you want to do any kind of upgrades to them, anytime you need to do any repairs, anytime you do any of that kind of stuff, it's pretty easy, right? Because you can swap and do all kinds of stuff, and you can do all kinds of combinations over many years, and it's easy to find parts for them. It's just kind of fun. So one of the things I was thinking I would do today is we're going to look at electronic upgrades for a Strat. Okay, this doesn't have to do with a particular A/B test or tone or anything, but what I want to do more with this video is give you some ideas. If you're chasing problems, if you are wanting to change the tone of your guitar or the look of your guitar or anything, it doesn't really matter, just to kind of see the start to finish of the electronic side of it so that it would inspire you to do any of that stuff, to show you that how easy it can be. Also, to give you kind of along the way some of the various steps that you could take, because you could pick any point along this process and actually do any of it. So let me show you what we're doing. We are going to build from start to finish one of these loaded pick guards. By doing so, we're going to give you an idea of what it takes to replace any of these parts, to replace only pickups, to replace a whole pick guard, all that sort of stuff. So let's dive into it. This is going to be a lot of uncut, just showing you stuff from scratch. So let's do it. All right, so let's go over what we're using. First of all, we're going to use one of our high quality pick guards. These are not any of the cheap stuff. They're also available in a bunch of different colors and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to upgrade a color of your pick guard, you can do that. Obviously, that's a cool thing to do. We can get them in a bunch of different formats, etc. So this is just going to be a single. Obviously, just a straight Strat upgrade. We're going to use a set of our Highway 99 pickups. These are our new ones, and they're pretty cool. Little higher output, etc. We've got a video on them. They just came out. And then on the bottom of each of these, you'll see the Dylan logo and then engraved it with an N. So this is going to be our neck pickup. And this is going to be our bridge pickup. And this is going to be our middle pickup. One of the big reasons why we want to upgrade stuff in a Strat is the switches. So a lot of the import guitars especially have those square box switches that are made with circuit boards and traces, where this is an actual contact switch. This is an Oak Grigsby switch that you'll find in a lot of factory Fenders. This is the same one they use, and it works really well. So this will upgrade any of your import guitars especially to something super legit, or if you've got something that's wearing out, getting a little scratchy, like that sort of thing. And I should say, anything that you see here, you can get individually or as a wiring kit. You don't have to buy pickups. You don't have to buy all this stuff. You can get them as individual parts. So that's pretty cool too. So 5-way switch, we'll be putting that in there as well. And then pots might be the other reason why you go ahead and upgrade Strat. And this is going to be a CTS 250K pot. 24 spline, so you can put that and put your regular Strat knobs on it with no issue. These are legit CTS pots. They are very low tolerance, so I think they're under 10%, which is really, really good. So these are super high quality pots. They got the little bearing in the middle. These are kind of like the vintage style ones. Sometimes you'll see the flat bottom ones, but these are kind of more in line with the vintage style ones, and they wear really well. They turn really smoothly. Got a brass shaft. These are nice. And then the other thing we're going to do, we could do it a couple of different ways, but in this guitar, we're just going to go ahead and put an orange drop cap in it. This is an actual Sprague orange drop. Now you could get all kinds of orange capacitors on Amazon and stuff, but what you're really looking for is the J right there after the 223. So 22 means that it's a 0.022 cap because the 3 is the multiplier. So now we have 0.022. And then the J is meaning that it is 5% tolerance. So you don't want one that is a higher letter in the alphabet. So that's a high quality cap. That's not one of those generic ones. And there you go. So these are a bunch of things that we're going to use. So let's go ahead and put this thing together, I guess. And we'll talk about steps and various. We're going to build an entire pick guard all the way from scratch. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our pickups in our pick guard. So the first thing we're going to do is take our neck pickup and put that in there like so. And then what I like to do is drop the screws in from the top and then take the spring, hold it underneath there with my finger like so, and I just kind of pinch it like that. And you don't have to use power tools, but I do because I do so many. And those will thread right in there like so. And then we'll take the other one. We'll do the same thing. And then one of the things I should mention is we want to make sure that the wires all point towards the back of the pick guard. So we'll go ahead and rinse and repeat until we have all 3 pickups installed in the pick guard. All right, so neck, middle, bridge all installed. We've got the wires all going the correct direction like so. And I guess the next thing we can do is go ahead and put our pots in. Now I like to double nut the pots, so I screw this nut down to set so I put one nut on the pot and I screw it down and I set it so that it comes through the pick guard the appropriate amount, so that when you put a washer on it and then you put a nut on it, it fits nice and flush. Because if you just screw the nut all the way down, the knob will stick too far off the top of the guitar. So that's what I like to do, give that a little snug. And then let me put the other 2 pots in, and then we'll talk about pot direction. Once they're in there, then you'll see which way they're supposed to face, or at least the way I like them to face. Okay, so let's look at the direction of the pots. I like to have this one facing straight down because it makes it easier. This is the volume. So we're looking at volume, tone, tone here. I like it to face straight down. It makes it easier to wire. I like this to face straight in, more or less, something like that. And then this one needs to face straight up. If it's sideways, it will not fit in the guitar properly. So we want this one to face straight up. The reason I do this one down, this one in, and this one up is because once we start wiring this, you'll see that it makes it easier for all the components to fit in there correctly. So then the next thing we want to do is go ahead and install our 5-way switch. Now this, I like to put the metal side of the switch because it's got this plate on it. I like to face it towards the bottom of the guitar. And then we just install it with the screws. All right. So now we've got all of the components, save for the capacitor, on the pick guard and ready to be soldered up. So normally I would use a solder exhaust fan, but because camera, we're not going to have it on today. So if people are wondering about that, that's why. So let's go ahead and get our wires routed. So the very first thing I like to do is I like to actually solder all of my grounds to the back of the volume pot. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to use Kester 6040 solder. I'll leave parts list in the description so that you can buy all this stuff whenever you want to do yours. So let's go ahead and just put a ground tab of solder onto the back of this here pot. All right. And we're going to go ahead and solder all the grounds of all of the pickups to the back of this pot. Save all these little pieces. All right, so then what I like to do after I get them snipped to length is I'll actually just push them all back, push all the grounds back. Like this. Hold them all together. Like so. Reheat your solder pool and solder them to the back of the volume pot. And we'll add just a little bit to make sure. All right, and now we can take all of our wires and kind of separate the white ones out like so, and just kind of route these black ones in right here so they're nice and neat. Make sure they're nice and neat up here on the backs of the pickups. Make sure that they line up with the back of the bridge pickup right here, otherwise they won't fit into the guitar. And then what I like to do is take my pickup wires, positive pickup wires, and I like to go ahead and solder them to the switch. Now, we can get into wiring if you want. I'll show you a couple of little tricks, but for the most part, when you order pickups from us, there will be a wiring diagram available that you can scan the little code and you can get your wiring diagrams so that you can do all this correctly. Don't use too much solder on the switch terminals, otherwise you'll drip it down in there and it will cause a problem later. So we'll take our middle pickup here. We'll route him kind of over like so. We'll take our bridge pickup or our neck pickup, bring him in here like so. All right, so now our pickups are actually installed. So at this point, if you were going to do a pickup replacement on your Stratocaster, like only that part of the upgrade, then that's what you would have done. Take the old ones out, unsolder the 3 spots on the switch, reground the new ones to the back of this pot, and then resolder the new ones to the switch. I guess the next thing we need to do is let's go ahead and hook up the volume pot to the switch. Now, all these little pieces of wire come in handy at this point because we can use them. So if you buy a set of pickups from me, you should have just about enough wire to actually completely rewire a Strat, because we put 12 inches of wire on the backs of all of the pickups. Again, keep that little piece of wire because we're going to need that in a minute. I'll show you a trick. There's a wire that's supposed to go from this side to this side on the switch, and I have forgotten to do it before. So what I do is I take this piece of wire and I put it in here, and I don't hook it up yet because it gets in the way of some other wiring, but I don't want to forget it. So what I do is I solder this end in. Okay. And I just kind of leave him just kind of hanging out there so that he reminds me that we need to do something with him later. Okay. And then the next thing we need to do is refer to our wiring diagram and hook up our pots. So we're going to hook up our tone cap first. Our first tone cap is going to be this one. There's a reason why we do it in this order. So I typically do the middle tone first. So he's going to go there. And then that goes to, and I'm going to tell you right now, as many times as I do this, I always look at a diagram. I have one over here on my cabinet. You've probably seen it in the videos. I've got Tele 3-way, Tele 4-way, Strat, all the same diagrams that I provide to you when you buy products from us. I have them over here on my cabinet because I don't want to forget. It's the kind of information that you could commit to memory, but why clutter your brain up with that much stuff when you can just look at a diagram? Okay, now here's an interesting one. Typically, when we do, in fact, I bet we can do a little zoom here. Okay, so typically when we hook up a this tone pot to the switch, usually it goes right here. Okay, so there's a wire that goes from this pot to here. But what we're going to do is we're going to take these two and we're going to bridge them together. So the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to put solder. And here's a little upgrade you can do to your Strat, even if you don't replace anything. Just go in there and connect these two terminals. So on the closest side to the guitar, it's going to be terminals 2 and 3. Your pot for your middle pickup is going to be here, okay? And it's going to be hooked up here. So what I do is I bridge them together. So just take a little piece of wire and go from here to here. And you see why we did it in this order? Because it kind of blocks this other wire. So I like to do it in this order so it looks neat. And then this comes down and hooks up right here. Boom. So now we have this pot does these two pickups, and this pot does the bridge pickup by itself, by just jumping those two wires together. So this one and this one just jump those two together. Now at this point, we can take our little guy here that's been hanging out and waiting for us. Solder him back down now that we've not going to do anything, not going to block anything. All right, I guess, and we'll leave ourselves zoomed in for one more thing because I want to show you the capacitor, the way I like to do the capacitor. So this goes like this, right over to here, and I just use the leg of the capacitor to do its own thing. And then I just snip her off right there. Okay. And I just put him in there like so. Solder that. Solder that. And then you just twist this guy around this way. And solder him right here. Take your wire cutters, clip him off nice and clean right there. And now you're good. All right, now we're going to zoom back out. Okay, so we basically have everything just about done. The only things we need to do now is our leftover wires. One, we need to solder our output wire on here. So this is going to be our output going to our jack. And then this is going to be, here's what I like to do. Bend over your, if you ever do a volume pot, bend over your leg like so, and then just pull some of this pushback wire through like so, and then have it go up onto the back of the pot. Maybe not quite that much. And then you can solder this on the back of the pot like that. And then you can solder this in the eyelet. And now this eyelet is connected to grounded to the back of the pot like it's supposed to be, but you didn't have to fight that gap. You know, sometimes people have a hard time fighting that gap between there. You could use the wire to bridge that gap and you don't have to worry about it. All right, and so that'll be our output jack. So now, this is basically complete. The only thing that we need to do now is some folks will rely on the ground plane because all of these pots need to be grounded, okay? So, and you know, that grounds through the output jack. So some folks would rely on the ground plane of this foil, but I do not. So I'm going to show you a trick on how to do that without burning your fingers. So here, we still have some scrap wire left. So now what I'll do is I'll take and I'll make a pad of solder here. I'll make a pad of solder here. And I'll make a pad of solder here. Because we want to ground all these together. So then what I'll do is take this piece of wire that I've got left over, and I'll solder this piece of wire here. Oh. And then basically I'll just pull back on the insulation so I'm not burning my fingers. And I'll solder this here. Pull back a little more. Solder this here. Maybe I didn't use enough right there. Hang on. Clip it off. It's nice and clean, it's grounded, and I didn't burn my fingertips off. So there is a loaded pick guard. It also comes with a pure tone jack, so when it comes in the package, we will twist these wires together, and typically what I do is when it comes in the package, we'll stick these wires through here so that you have your jack weight in there. And then the only thing that you'll have to do when you get your guitar is solder the output jack on, because you know you have to kind of like wiggle those wires through to the football. And then the other thing that you have to do is leave the tremolo ground on your guitar and then just solder it take it off the pot and solder it onto the back of this volume pot where this solder already is, and you will be complete. So that is, you know, it's really the only level of commitment that you have, is just dropping this baby in. You literally just take your strings off your guitar, pull all the other stuff out, drop this in, solder the output jack on, solder the one wire to the ground, put strings back, you know, drop it back in and screw it up. And then you will be good to go with some strings. So there is a few different ways to do this, right? So what's fun about this is the thing is you can kind of choose your level of commitment, how far you want to dive in, right? Maybe it's just replacing the pickguard so your guitar looks different. Maybe it's replacing the pickguard and the pickup covers, or maybe replacing some knobs or whatever, you know, just cosmetic stuff, fun stuff like that. Maybe you do want to replace the pickups. So at the very beginning of our little process here, you could just do just that beginning part. Unsolder those pickups, solder the other ones back in. We provide that wiring diagrams when you buy from us and all that kind of stuff. Also, talking about pot depth and what switches we use and all that kind of stuff. Because if you're trying to deal with problems like that sort of thing, you kind of understand, you know, if you've got scratchy pots or scratchy switch or any of that kind of stuff, it's all doable. And then if you want to kind of go all in, but honestly, the most simple way, even if you're not that really good at soldering, maybe you don't like to solder, maybe you just don't want to fiddle with it, you can order these full-on loaded pickguards that are all done, and you literally just plop them in the guitar, solder the output jack on and solder the ground on, and boom, you're done. It sounds like a lot, but it's actually the easiest, right? Because it's just a thing that you drop in. You get to choose a color, you get to do whatever with, you know, however you want the guitar to look that way. You can completely change the look and the sound of the guitar if you want. You could put a humbucker in the bridge if you want. We could put 2 humbuckers in there if you want. We could put P90s in there if you want. We could do all kinds of fun stuff. Loaded, already done, slap it in the guitar, boom, you're ready to go. And so that might seem like a lot, but like I said, it's pretty low commitment, right? Only a couple of solder joints and you're on your way. So I just think it's fun. I think Strat things are fun. I wanted to share this with you because this is actually, of everything we do, I think I love making P90s. That's like my favorite pickup, obviously. And then the other thing I like doing is making loaded pickguards. I think it's fun. I really enjoy doing it. I actually very much enjoy sitting here and wiring these things together. So I wanted to share something that I thought was fun with you. All of this stuff is available at DylanTalksTone.com. You can go there. You can buy a completely loaded pickguard like this. You can buy just pickups. You could buy just one pickup. You could buy just a volume pot. You could buy just a cap, just a switch. You actually buy the wiring kit without the pickups, so just all of the little pieces that you need in case you already like your pickguard and your pickups. If you needed to replace a pot, you know, that kind of stuff. So all this stuff, like I said, varying levels of diving in and how deep you want to go, but it's all available. So I just want to share that with you. I thought it was fun. It's kind of a fun thing to do. And yeah, I like it a lot. Do me a favor. If you like modding guitars, and if you like guitar stuff, hit the subscribe button, because that's all we do here. That's what we do. And we're getting pretty close to 100,000 subscribers. We're going to have like a live stream and hang out and maybe give some stuff away. And I'm not sure. We're going to do some fun stuff coming up pretty soon. So check that out as well. Like and subscribe. There'll be links to all this stuff in the description. If you use those links, it helps out the channel, but you don't have to. Even if you don't and you just get some inspiration from this video, that's all I care. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.